Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first of our 2020 webinars. Our first one today on the subject of online options from SharePointEduTech. My name is Adrian Edgar, and here are my contact details. Feel free to email me. And during the course of this webinar, if you do have any specific questions, then feel free to drop them into the chat window, and I can either answer the questions as we go along, or if they're coming in thick and fast, then I'll be happy to answer them by private email after this webinar. As I said, our subject matter this afternoon is online options, which is a new product recently introduced, a new offering built on SharePoint. This product is to allow students and academic administrators to be able to view the subjects online, subjects that are available to students, and then to go through this. There are three components to this product. Part of the demonstration here of this particular web part is that it's fully customizable to meet the needs of the individual school, college, or university. We believe with a little bit of customized work on this particular product that we can make this product work any scenario where you have students or learners making a choice of subjects and then being able to indicate those choices as part of an administration process. Of course, that's only useful in an education setting if it's linked to your student information system. So this particular product will integrate with information out of your MIS system, so you can make use of that single source of information. And then finally, of course, there's a reporting process, the ability there to be able to inform the relevant parties, the relevant people of the process, the choices have been made, and then what particular stage of the application process or the options process that particular student, that particular learner is involved with. And then finally, of course, that the administrator needs some kind of management reports to be able to see where each of the students are in the process, those that have completed, those that haven't completed, and finally, of course, the ability to be able to output that information from your SharePoint online options into a CSV file, into a spreadsheet, that you can then manipulate that data and perhaps feed it back into an option block process, something like options from Nova T springs to mind, as one of those products that would readily take this information. So without further ado there, I'm going to just nip out of this presentation and go to our website, which I am fully expecting to time out on me. So I'll just log back in there to get into the system. And I've actually logged on here as an administrator, so I'll be able to show you all of the features of this particular product from an administration point of view, and I'll highlight to you the aspects of the product that a student would see. Given the time that this is only a 20-minute webinar, I'm not going to go too deep into the setup process, but there is, as you can see, an administration section here which allows me to fully configure and fully define this particular product. The demo site that I'm looking at is set up for GCSE options, and the section in the middle here with this picture and the options document library, etc., is fully customizable to suit the needs of your school. It's literally an area where you can place whatever text you require, or indeed if you want that central window. On the left-hand side here, we have the series of key dates, which again are definable by the administrator by literally clicking on Add a Key Date, and the contents will load here. And it just gives you that ability there to be able to define all those important dates as part of the process. And you can either set it that it will keep those dates here, so you can see, for example, whilst that page is loading, that there's a date of the 7th of January still sitting there, or indeed as part of this process you can define it so that a date in the past has disappeared. So it's just literally a straightforward process of adding in a particular date. So if I wanted to add in sometime today, for example, let's say tomorrow, and I'm going to send a letter to parents, then that information will appear on the timeline related to that specific process. On the right-hand side, we have the list of subjects, but we also have this ability within this particular module here to be able to browse for that information. So we can actually take a look at each one of those individual subjects there and find out a little bit more information about those particular subjects. What I'll do is I will go into history. I'll choose history because that happens to be one that we've got populated with some sensible information here. And you can see, as the administrator, I have the ability to edit the page, edit that information, and I can add all the sorts of information that I would expect to see for a GCSE course. I can add a description of the course, the types of information that a school or a college might normally produce in a paper booklet that goes around each of the departments each year for amendments and is then reprinted. Here you've got that ability to place this catalogue online, so you've got one central place for that information, and that can just literally be updated each year by the administrator or indeed by the head of department that relates to that particular subject. It doesn't need to be an administration process. I won't do anything else to that at the particular moment, but you can see that there are some boxes here that are empty, and the idea here is that if that information doesn't appear in these boxes, and as I complete tab empty, then all I would see would be the first two tabs sitting at the top here. I've also got the ability within the subcourse here to add a subject image, and that appears on this very nice, neat selection carousel at the bottom here. So I can define a subject image at the bottom of the page, but I can also add an individual video. So if I've got, for example, a practice lesson or a sample lesson, or I've got interviews with students who have already taken the course, then I can add those particular movies as an attachment at the bottom, and those particular files would then appear as an extra tab along the top here. Now this idea of being able to define information across the top here becomes a little bit more important as we move into perhaps AS and A2 type options, where you might want to say, for example, that for A-level Russian it's only going to be offered at AS, so therefore I want to be able to see just the information relating to an AS course here, or a vocational course perhaps, something like that. But geography is going to be offered right the way through a full A-level or a higher certificate or something like that. Then that extra information would appear as an extra tab on the side there. So the idea of this first component, the first component of online options, is really to give the student the ability to be able to browse this information. They don't have to wait for a particular deadline. This information can be made available to them throughout the year so that they can make that informed choice as part of the process. They can read that information, and I'm quite interested in history, so for now all I'm going to do is mark that as a favorite. Now we've chosen the word selected here, but it could say, for example, it could for your school be in the basket, or I am interested, or it could be a thumbs up or something like that. It's just literally a way of saying, yes, that's a subject that I've got some information about, and I'm relatively interested in it. So I'm going to go back to my browse wheel at the bottom here, and I'm going to say I'm also interested in for example. So I click on food technology at the bottom of the wheel there. The carousel is now sitting on food technology, or it was until I moved it. Sitting on food technology there. I could read that information about food technology. No, I'm not quite in. I don't think that's quite what I want to do. So I might go down to the bottom here and say, okay, I'd rather read a little bit of information about resistant materials. Yes, that's more my sort of style, so I'm going to mark that as something that I'm particularly interested in. There's no limit on these. You know, I can go down the side and I can navigate to the pages like that, and I can say, yes, I'm quite interested in PE. I've read what I'm going to learn. I'm happy about that. I'm going to mark that as a course that I'm interested in. And that's very much the first stage of this particular product here, is this ability to browse a catalogue and state the types of courses that I'm interested in. The next stage of the options process may well be that the school administrator, the vice principal, the deputy head wants students to be able to say now, I want you to make these particular choices. And in some schools, they might have an option structure where the choice of subjects is very, very regimented, or very much set out. You know, you can choose something from this column, something from this column, and something from this column. Or there may well be a school that gives the pupils a free choice. Or indeed, it could be a combination of the two. Many schools might put structure in at GCSE level, but then give the AS and the A2, the advanced level students, much more freedom of choice. And this particular options product will happily deal with that. So if I go to the subject selection page at the moment, on this particular site, if you remember, I'm logged on as an administrator, but we've fooled in the background. We've set it so that it thinks that this particular administrator is also a pupil. So you can see here that I've got a fully customizable page. I could have put some text at the top here, some introduction text, make it a little bit more user-friendly, as it were. Or indeed, of course, I could have branded that whole of that section at the top of the page there. I could have my school crest sitting at the top there. It could be in school colours. There's all sorts of things that we can do to help to make this look a little bit more appealing to students. You'll notice that when I clicked on this page, I'd automatically got 3 subjects selected here, which happen to be defined by the administrator as the core subjects of the school. These are the courses that all students must take. So by selecting those particular subjects and categorizing them by core, it's actually saying to the system there that you must pre-select those 3 subjects for each student. Every student must do those subjects, so therefore just go straight through and select those automatically. And this again is definable. It might be that some schools want to add science subjects into the core. Some schools might want to add English language and English literature as a separate subject. That's all completely definable there. Or indeed, you might not have any core subjects at all, entirely up to you. But what I've got now further down the page, I can see where I've highlighted those subjects that I'm interested in, and I can now see, because they're bold, where they're actually going to sit in this structure here. So I might decide, for example, I'm going to take French in the first column. I'm going to take French as a language, and again, it's dropped me out, something I must sort out on my timing for my gateway, excuse me. Let's get me back in. There you go. I've chosen French as my first subject. And you'll notice now that wherever French appears in the other columns, it's blanked that particular section out. I can't now choose French from that particular column. But I can see that I'd highlighted technology resistant materials as an option, so I can go in and I can select resistant materials. I've highlighted PE and history here, so I'm going to select history in that column and PE in that column and geography in that column as a selection. But I've now realized, oh, actually, what I really wanted to do, rather than take PE at GCSE, I thought I'd be more interested in drama. So as a student, I can still at this stage deselect, and I can select a new subject like that. Simple as that. Now, because as the administrator I've defined how many subjects I'm required, it's kept a count here at the bottom of how many subjects, and now that I've chosen 8 out of 8, it allows me to submit those courses. So now you'll notice it's telling me that the choices have been submitted for approval, and this particular page for the student is locked. And this is where the third component, or the third section of our product becomes available now, where as a school you want to define what's going to happen to that information. Is it now going to go to parents in an email for them to approve the option choices? Is it going to be output into a file that the administrator will then send a letter to the parents? Or is it going to go to the tutor for further approval? But you can see here, as far as the student is concerned, they can't do anything on this page now. Their subjects are locked. But it might well be the case that as an administrator, I want to be able to go in to that list, and if I wanted to, I could make that particular pupil active again so that they could go in and make some changes. Or indeed, as part of this process, let's say, for example, the parents reject the choices, then we could automatically force it to set that record available and active again. Okay, so there's all sorts of information. We can see here a list of those students who have completed the process and what particular tutor they relate to. So there could be an email going to the tutor or a task for an approval. And then finally, just to show off this last section here, we've got the ability to export that information into a CSV file. He says. There you go, a CSV file that I can then manipulate in whatever shape or form that I want to be able to get it ready to import back into my MIS system or whatever product I use for setting out my option columns. So just to summarize then, we've got 3 components, and the idea of this particular product is the ability to be flexible and offer a school or a college the ability to use this product in a way that their system already, or their paper system within school already follows. So we're not asking people to change a school system to fit the needs of the product. There's a lot of this product that can actually be changed to fit the needs of your school. There's the ability to turn on and off aspects of the product for a student to be able to make those choices, but then also to be locked out of the system once they've made those choices until a series of workflows have taken place. And then finally, a series of reports that allow you to see where the students are in the process, who has completed their options, and indeed to report back on which options they've chosen. So to draw our first demonstration to an end, I'd like to thank you for attending our first 2020 webinar. Thank you very much for listening. My email address is there on screen for you, adrian@SharePointEduTech.com. And if you do have any questions about the product, or indeed would like a more in-depth one-on-one demonstration, then do feel free to give me a call or drop me an email. Thank you very much for attending this first 2020 webinar.